Hey everyone, George here. I just wanted to jump in and recommend a book that I really enjoyed. I'm a big lover of history and Italian history to be exact. And there's a book that I highly recommend, and it is called City of Fortune: How Venice Ruled the Seas by Roger Crowley. So this book right here doesn't cover the entire history of Venice. It's really just during its golden era, during the medieval period. It's basically from 1000 AD all the way to 1503. I don't know if you can see it. 1503 AD. It's that period. So if you want like a full spectrum, a full timeline, this is not the book for you. But if you want to learn all about Venetian history during the golden era of Venice, when it was a market hub, a trading hub of the Mediterranean and all of Europe, I highly recommend this book. Something I really loved about this book was that, it talked about Doge Enrico Dandolo. He was the Doge of Venice during the Fourth Crusade. He's the one that took part in the sacking of Constantinople. It's really fascinating. They did a really good job laying it out, explaining it. Honestly, for me, when I was in school and then when I watch videos or try to read on it, I feel like they don't do, maybe it's just my shortcoming of I guess, like looking up information, but I always found that there was never really there's not many good sources that lays out the reasoning why Constantinople was sacked. They just give you like one or two points. This lays out the whole timeline, does a really good job explaining it, puts everything in the context as to why Constantinople was sacked in the Fourth Crusade. Really fascinating story, really fascinating event in history. So they cover, how they spread out all the territories and colonies they made in the Mediterranean and even on the Black Sea. It's really fascinating. They talk about, there's a whole section, not even just a section, just was an important colony for the Venetian Republic, was the island of Crete, the Greek island of Crete. It was very important for Venice, and they go into great detail. Like I feel like I have a very good grasp of their interaction with the island of Crete and how they managed and maintained it, and the obvious conflict that went on with Venice and Crete for years. They talk about the Battle of Chioggia, which of course is part of the ongoing war that they had. The Venice had with Genoa, so they cover all that, the Venetian and Genoese fighting each other. They talk about that long drawn out war they had. And they do a really good job explaining the Battle of Chioggia and the siege. So the Genoese laid siege to the city of Venice. You got to learn like some really cool things that happened during that period. And you learn about Vittor Pisani, who was the commander that actually successfully ended this crazy siege of Venice. He did some really, I'm not going to, it's not really a spoiler because it's history and this happened over 500 years ago. But he basically out-sieged the people laying siege to them. It was really fascinating, really interesting stuff that went down. Another thing they did really good in this book was something I never really thought about, and I guess I never realized it. I never put some pieces together, but I never had I don't know if I realized that Venetians actually interacted with the Mongols, with the Mongol Empire. They talk about the Mongols on the Black Sea, their interactions where, I forget his name, but he was a Venetian that actually went to, at that time, whoever the Khan was at that time, the Mongol leader at that time, to get approval to put a city on the Black Sea, on the coastline of the Black Sea. Another really interesting thing that this book did was they put really good context, or not they, Roger Crowley put really good context into what is believed to be the first, I guess, which I understand is the first written record of the plague in Europe, the Black Death, where, that story where the enemies are catapulting the dead over the city walls, and those are plague victims. So it's spreading the plague into the city. They did a really good job about that. It was not a Venetian, if I remember correctly, it was not a Venetian city. Venice had a city on the Black Sea that fell to the Khans. They had a good relationship for years, and then, the leadership passed to another, and then I guess there was conflict and it fell. I am butchering it. If you want to get more information on it, please read this book. Anyway, so the Venetian city falls, and the Venetians are actually fled to the Genoese city. There's a Genoese city as well on the Black Sea because they are both competing. And then they bring in the context all about the siege that happened in that city, and then the catapulting of the plague victims into that city. If you want to travel to Venice, or if you've already traveled to Venice like me, and you just want to learn more about the city, because it's a very unique city, there's no other city in the world like it, I highly recommend it. Again, this only covers from 1000 AD to 1503 AD. So you're not going to get the whole timeline of the city, or about the whole timeline of the Republic of Venice. But you're going to get like a really good, really detailed description and history of the Venetian Republic. And Roger Crowley does a great job. I'm not a historian. I'm not a history teacher. I don't work in a museum. I just really like history. I'm fascinated with history, in particular Italian history. Roger Crowley did a great job explaining the history of Venice. It wasn't boring. Sometimes history books can get a little dry. This book was not dry at all, from beginning to end. It was a great read. It's not even that long. It was, there we go, 383 pages. Oh, don't want to spoil the ending. Yeah. It's 383 pages long. It's really not that big of a book. It's a nice, quick read. It depends how quickly you go through it. I like to take time. I'm kind of a slow reader. I like to take time, especially when I read history. I like taking time with my books. I like to just absorb all the information and reflect on it, reflect on the moments in history that I learn about. So I take a little bit of time when reading this. But if you're a quick reader or just even a casual reader, you can breeze through this pretty quickly, honestly. It's a great book. I highly recommend this. City of Fortune, How Venice Ruled the Seas by Roger Crowley. Go out, get it. Get it today. Here you go. The book's yours. Enjoy. And now this is you picking up the book, and then I guess opening the book and reading the book. Look at that. Very interactive, right? It's an interactive video. Who would have thought? Bye.